Welcome to the Maxwell Leadership Executive Podcast, where our goal is to help you increase your reputation as a leader, increase your ability to influence others, and increase your ability to fully engage your team to deliver remarkable results. Hi, I'm Perry Holly, a Maxwell Leadership Facilitator and Coach.
And I'm Chris Cody, Executive Vice President with Maxwell Leadership. Welcome and thank you for joining. As we get started today, just know that there's a learner guide that's been created for you guys, or if you have a comment and you'd like some type of issue, leadership challenge you're dealing with, we'd love to help you solve that and talk about it on the air. We won't tell who it came from or any of the details, but that's what we're doing. We are literally in the field. A lot of things that we talk about are things that we are dealing with as a team, as a leader, but also those that we have the privilege of serving around the world. So just know you can go to maxwellleadership.com/podcast. You can click on this podcast there. There's a form, fill that out, submit it, and we will get back in touch with you. Well, today we've talked a lot about both of these words.
Yes.
What's interesting is we're going to talk about them together today. Today's topic is feedback that drives inclusion. Where are we going?
Is that a reach?
Well, maybe not. Because I think, when I was thinking about it, I think the opposite could, right?
Yes.
So if that's true, then absolutely the way we go about it can give that inclusive feeling to that team and to the people that are on your team.
Yeah, I took this from so I was doing some reading, and we teach a lot on culture. I was reading The Culture Code by Daniel Coyle. It's excellent. I really
great.
Recommend that. He referenced some researchers who discovered that one particular type of feedback boosted student effort and performance so immensely that they deemed it magical feedback. So we're always talking about, okay, I got to pay attention to this. They said the students who received this magical feedback tended to revise their papers and try new things. Others who did not, but these students improved significantly. And so the feedback was not complicated. It consisted of one simple phrase. And so I found this fascinating here's the phrase: I'm giving you these comments because I have very high expectations and I know you can reach them. Your thoughts?
If you didn't write that down and you didn't download the learner guide, as I saw that and Perry gave it to me ahead of time, I was like, that's really good, right? Like you're setting the bar, but then you're talking about this belief. And what I loved about it was its positioning of not micromanaging, in essence, the change that you're requesting or the feedback that you're giving. The belief word is all over that, right? We're going to talk about that in a little bit. And so I'm sure the comments ahead of that statement are what the leader saw in the situation, but what you don't see in here is how to prove, right? He's given the freedom, he or she's given him the freedom to do that. And so with this statement, as we're talking about, of driving inclusion in this statement, before we dive in and we tie those two together, let's go back. We've talked about this before on a couple of other episodes, just so you know what we mean by inclusion. And so for us, as we think about culture and we think about leadership, what it means to us is that your team members, those that you work with every day, feel welcome, safe, and valued. They feel like they belong on that team. They're comfortable. Think about when you go into a setting or a team and you feel comfortable. You feel welcome, you feel safe in there, and you feel valued. That's what we talk about, is how to get to a place of inclusion by driving those key words.
And one of those words you used was so instrumental in their research, but that word is belong. That if you feel like you belong here, different from fitting in. Fitting in is me doing what I need to do to please you. Belonging is I can just be me. But it said the words of feedback are so important that, according to Coyle, the author, that they deliver this burst of belonging cues. And I hadn't thought about that when he said that there's actually 3 separate cues. The first one is that by giving you this feedback, and so imagine that I'm giving you the feedback about something I just witnessed you do, and I'm giving you these words. I'm telling you this because I have high standards and I believe you can meet them. I thought, that tells me that you're a part of this group. That was cue number 1. You belong. You're a part of the group. The group is special. And we have high standards. We're not just some willy-nilly. We have high standards. We're doing that. And third, I believe you can reach those standards. And these signals, he said, provide a clear message that light up that unconscious brain that you belong here. It's a safe place for you to give your all, to put yourself into the work, to do that. And before I get your comments on that, I said, I got a little sad thinking how many times I don't give feedback. I think giving feedback says, I value you and you belong here.
Yeah.
And that inclusion now it just opens up so much. I think all the times I either refused or didn't give, I was afraid to give feedback or something. I just love this ad that he's put on here to say, man, belonging cue. That's why I tied it to inclusion. When I saw the word belong, I thought that's how we really see inclusion.
Yeah, I love, and you can open with this statement and you can close with this statement and bring it back together. And then I was also thinking, if that was me, no matter how tough the feedback was, I'd probably walk out of the room so excited. I'd be like, that was amazing, and really not even know what happened, but really got good constructive feedback in the process of doing that. So I think it's brilliant. I think it's powerful. And I think what you said just a minute ago, for many of us, is not easy to give feedback because you feel like even though you need to, you may down the other person. They're going to walk out like you have to give feedback. And by having bookends using the statement or one and the other, no doubt we all want to be a part of a high performing team. I know I do. And so, man, I want to follow a leader that has high expectations. And then I want to follow a leader that believes in me. And so when you were sitting there saying that, I'm like, man, whatever he or she would have told me, I would have walked out of there and been like, let's go. Like, yes, I'm the best team member ever. Right. And meanwhile, I just got really good feedback. So I absolutely love that. It does also remind me, just as we've based every part of this podcast that we do together, Perry and I are so passionate about the 5 levels of leadership, that goes directly into the level 3, where as a leader, we have to produce results. As an individual contributor, we have to produce results at level 3. And when you do that, you're gaining influence because of that. The only way to really go about that is to have the ability to give each other good feedback and not ruin the relationship, the connection, the trust you've built, which is level 2. And so remember, 5 levels of leadership, these build on top of one another, and you can't leave the other one behind. So you're always flowing back and forth. And unless you do this right, unless you do feedback right, so that it feels inclusive to the individual, you're going to lose that level 2 influence, which is about the relationships and the trust. And so 100%, I love this. I love at level 3, we talk about momentum. And I think that's when you get momentum and positive results, is when you start giving each other feedback in the right way, that you don't shut each other down.
Yeah, I think this is a level 3 statement. Is I'm looking at your performance, I'm giving you feedback, and whatever I tell you, I then communicate that I'm giving you the comments because I have high expectations of you, and I know that you can reach them. So if we can break it down to say the first part of that is, I have high expectations. I started thinking, if I said this, are people going to roll their eyes?
Right.
Are you the kind of leader that has high expectations, and do you communicate it? I'd hate to use those words.
Right.
And somebody roll their eyes and yeah, right. You don't do that. But this may sound like a silly question, but I think we all think we have high expectations. How do you set and communicate high expectations?
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, right? You don't want to come across as this narcissistic leader, but you do want to set that bar. You do, like all of us, want to know that what we're doing is some of our best work. And so a couple of things here in regards to be able to do that. I think we need to make sure that we are very articulate in what our expectations are. Like, what are the goals that then, if we hit, is considered high performance or would meet our expectations of that project, right? And so I think we have to be very clear on the front end of how we're communicating that feedback, what our expectations are, if we're going to say I have high expectations. If you say you have high expectations and the team doesn't know what they are, that's just a complete train wreck.
Is it my expectations around the numbers we're trying to achieve? Is it expectations in timing of deliverables?
Yeah, I think that people struggle with this because it is more about how you deliver it. I think all of that is yes.
Okay.
When you sit down and you know what your expectations are of a project as a leader or as an individual contributor, then 100%, I think it's not only what you communicate, but how you communicate the feedback to that individual.
Hey, podcast listeners. Many of you listening right now would probably love the autonomy that comes with owning your own business or becoming a coach that helps other businesses succeed. Well, we have a phenomenal strategy where you are 100% in control of your own business, earning income on your own terms, and have access to the people, tools, and resources you need to build a thriving leadership development business. When you become a Maxwell Leadership Certified Team member, you join a global community of entrepreneurs led by our expert team of mentors and faculty, including John C. Maxwell. You'll also get one of the top leadership certifications in the world next to your name, giving you the boost you need to get started. Visit us online at maxwellleadership.com/join the team to find out more.
I think a couple of football coaches I've thought about, but having a standard of operation, a standard operating procedure, standards how we do things here.
Yes.
I expect you to operate. Is it a culture statement? Perhaps I don't. It could probably all of that again. But I'm thinking these are easy words to say. I have high expectations, and I expect you to meet them. How do they know you have high expectations? Is it from standard of performance? Is it? And I think you're right. A lot of leaders struggle with this. Is that how do I have them, and then how do I communicate them?
Yeah, we do have them. We do need to communicate them well, tied to the goals. I also think that you have to have regular dialogue and open dialogue, open communication, meaning as a leader or even as a team member going through, if you have high expectations and you're working and leading a project or you're a volunteer, whatever it might be. Remember, leadership is influence. So as you're influencing, as you're leading people, if you're not approachable and you're not invested in, like, for example, if I wasn't invested in your success, I might have high expectations, but if I wasn't approachable and then invested in your success, I don't think it really matters what my expectations are. You're probably not ever going to get there. So you got to be able to clearly communicate that on the front end so you're on the same page. But then even more importantly, throughout the process, if we're talking about expectations of a project, that I think you got to be approachable, and they have to know that you're invested in them being successful in what they're doing to meet the team's goal. But when you talk about kind of the standard, no doubt same thing that I was thinking about with coaching and teams and programs, that are very well known, right, for a standard that they live by. And in those expectations are extremely high, whatever they are, whether they're task related, whether it's about the attitude of which you go about doing things, how you go about doing things, all of that matters. And you need to be able to communicate that to your team members, to your individuals. When you do that, I wrote this down. It's so important to be able to do this because I think it drives consistency throughout the organization. It drives efficiency. Again, these are all going back to level 3 things that we look for in leaders that are gaining level 3 influence. And then I think the quality of what you deliver, right? You think about the great basketball coach, John Wooden. You name it. They had a standard, and it came with feedback, but he made the entire team feel inclusive in how he gave that feedback because he believed in them. So I know you started off this podcast going, can we put those two words together? I think it's brilliant. Yeah. And that statement triggered you, which I'm now going to use that statement going forward because I think it's awesome.
Well, let's take the very last part of that says that, go back to the 19-word statement was, I'm giving you these comments because I have very high expectations and I know you can reach them. I'm fascinated with the I know you can reach them statement. To me, this says, similar to what you were just saying about that you're invested in me, that you believe in me. Yeah. I see the potential in you. How important is this, and how does a leader have everyone on the team feeling they have potential and that I have high expectations, but I believe you can reach them? I'm saying that to everyone.
Yeah.
How do you have that high expectation of everyone? How do you communicate that?
Yeah,
I believe in you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and for those that are listening, not on YouTube, we're like holding up air quotes, like I believe in you. Yeah. So you've probably heard us say this before. There's a belief deficit in our world right now with people, and it's whether it's personal or professional, whatever it is. And so there has to be some of that. But I think what Perry brings up here is a good point. It's not like you just going, I believe in you, and then walking out of the room, right? Like that's not part of it. It's part of it, but that's not how you go about doing it. So one of the ways to go about it, two things you can do. Number one is empower the individuals. When you empower them, which going back to this statement in here, it doesn't really say how to fix it. It's like they give you feedback on what they observed, the leader, and man, I have high expectations. I believe in you. I know you're going to hit that. When you do that, the empowerment of letting them do that is going to drive ownership of whatever it is, that feedback, the project, whatever. When they have ownership and you succeed as a team, you produce whatever your KPI is in the situation, they're going to build confidence. And then it becomes a cycle that just continues to grow. That's one way that you can show you believe in them. The other thing is that when you begin doing that, I think you also encourage a growth mindset in them, because the way that you're communicating, the way that you're making them feel included into the process to meet those high expectations, I think it's going to challenge them to continue to want to grow, to have the right mindset, to want to get better. Because I know if someone came in and said that to me and gave me my feedback, what I would do is I'd reflect and evaluate on that feedback, but then I'd go, okay, well, how do I get better in that area? Right? Like, what am I going to do to grow? I mean, I just left and Perry told me, man, I have high expectations, but I know you can get there. Well, now I don't want to let Perry down. And yet you were speaking belief into me, but in turn, what's happening is I'm believing in you as a leader, and now going to do whatever I need to do to grow, to make sure that I fix the issues that the feedback was coming from.
Right. Well, I think I heard John say it. I've believed it my whole life, is that people will rise or lower themselves to your level of expectation about them.
Yeah.
And so if you see people in a positive way, they will, you can tell when people feel that way. And I'm just thinking about, how you treat me in our relationship and how we build things together, is that I think you have high expectations, but I know that I can meet them, and you communicate that. When I come in, even with scripts, something like this, I don't want to disappoint. I'm trying to raise my game because of the way that we've communicated to do that. Last thing I'll say, and I want you to wrap up, is this is a great sentence. I'm giving you these comments because I have high expectations and I know you can reach them. I would not want to start saying that. There's a lot of work as I've dug into this. There's some work that has to be done by the leader. Make sure you do have high expectations. Make sure you're communicating high expectations, and make sure people know that you believe in them enough that they can reach it. If you haven't done any of those, this is just a sentence.
Yeah, especially that's so good, especially the last one, because what do we see when we go into organizations that have high turnover is we see leaders that come in and go straight from level 1 to level 3. And what you're telling us is that. Because could you imagine if first day on the job, right? I'm level 1, I got a title right here, and I go, Perry, I got high expectations and I believe in you. And you're like,
you don't even know
don't even know me. And like, great, thanks for telling me, right? So to your point, the work's got to be done at level 2 to get to level 3, and then be able to say that for the credibility of it. So I love that you said that. Well, as I wrap up, I just want to encourage you. It's not easy for all of us, but people want, desire, I think crave, I think need feedback. I would say it starts as our children need that, all the way up to, as a parent, I need that, to our team members need that, to, I know my mom and dad don't listen to this, but they need that right now, right? Maybe now more than ever. But it is something that we all need, we crave, will make us better. And we often have this negative connotation of, I got to give Perry some feedback because of the way it's been done in the past. What I love about what you brought to us today is, if, to your point, I want to underscore this, if you go about going through the levels of influence the right way, you can make a statement like this, and you don't lose influence or lose credibility with the team by going backwards because you come in and make a statement. We have high expectations here. And I believe that you can get there, you can fix that, whatever it might be. And so it's not negative the way you go about it. It would be negative to your point a minute ago, which is if I see it and I really care about you and I really wanted you to be a part of the team and you felt safe and valued and I didn't share it with you.
Yeah.
That's the negative part of that. But for so long, that word feedback comes with such negative connotation. Don't allow that to be the story. Go about increasing your influence the right way first, and then use a statement like this, and you'll be in good shape.
Yeah, people crave belonging as well, and you'll make me feel like I am a part of this team, and I'm important to our success. I belong here. Great stuff, Chris. Thank you. And as a reminder, if you want to know more about our offerings, about the other podcast episodes in our arsenal, if you want to leave a question or a comment, you can do all that at maxwellleadership.com/podcast. We love hearing from you. We're very grateful you'd spend this time with us. That's all today from the Maxwell Leadership Executive Podcast.
Are you ready to elevate your leadership to new heights? Join the movement towards High Road Leadership with John C. Maxwell's latest book. In High Road Leadership, John explores the power of valuing all people, doing the right things for the right reasons, and placing others above personal agendas. Learn how to inspire positive change and bring people together in a world that divides. Order now and receive exclusive bonuses, including a keynote on High Road Leadership by John Maxwell himself and a sneak peek into 3 impactful chapters. Take the first step towards becoming a High Road leader. Visit highroadleadershipbook.com to order your copy today.